Hey, hey, this is Rand Wise coming to you almost live. If you're liking my vibe, please like and subscribe. So, this is going to be a two-part series. It's not going to be the same thing as the other ones that I've been putting out because this is more like what I call my Attic series. So, in the Attic series, there's a bunch of short stories, but even though they're short stories, they're not like full-length stories like, a lot of the stuff that I've been putting out. So this one is called Groovy Gavin. Okay, it's two parts to this. Um, Groovy Gavin is about a young boy who is about 15 years old who goes back in time after he goes to bed in his room that's in the attic of this brand new house that his parents just bought. So when he wakes up one morning, he's back in like 1973. And it's a culture shock for little Gavin because he's so used to tablets and iPhones and video games and all that wasn't going on in the 70s, especially the early 70s. I was there, I can tell you. Okay. So what I want y'all to do is I want y'all to go ahead and enjoy the story. And don't forget to like and subscribe, share, comment, tell me how you feel about it or whatever. What I want to also say is that it's so much bad news going on out there. I was talking to a friend the other day and she nailed it. It's just so much going on out there that we got to be in our artistic mode. We have to be in our intellectual mode. We have to do something to take our minds off of ICE and deportations and this and that. It's just we getting a overload of all that stuff. We are inundated, and that's why me and my friend we try to put out. And by the way, her name is Jasmine. We try to put out things that are positive, that's going to make people feel good. Instead of always having these things that's going to put your emotions up here all the time. So we just thought put something out there and try and make everybody feel good. Shout out to my brother Chris Breeze. I love you. You always have input in what I'm doing. So I appreciate you very much. So without further ado, I hope y'all enjoy it, and I'll see y'all on the other side of part two. Okay, bye bye. What is time? What is space? What if time was only in the mind? With respect to where we are, you will find that time could only be what you perceive as you go back in time in the Attic series. Groovy Gavin, Chapter 1. Gavin hurried to the house once his parents' SUV stopped in front of the 4-bedroom. The moving truck was already parked in the driveway and the movers were unloading. He heard his mother fussing at the movers not to break her full-length mirror. She'd had that mirror for many years. Her own mother had owned it back in the 1970s. He took 2 steps at a time to the attic. He looked around, a big old smile on his face. The place had been clean since the last time the family had visited the house. He was with his parents when they did the final walkthrough. He took in the fresh smell of wood treatment. There were 2 dormer windows that faced the front of the house. He opened a small closet. It was narrow and had only enough room for a few outfits, but that was fine. He was 14 and needed his own space. His younger sisters, Tara and Lenisa, were 10 and 12 respectively. They had lived in a 3-bedroom apartment before his parents bought the house. This was the perfect space. Now he could have all the privacy he needed. He galloped down the stairs. The movers were still placing furniture inside the house. 2 of them carried his bed into the house. That goes all the way to the 3rd level, Gavin ordered. Sure, little man, one of the movers said. But Gavin did not consider himself a little man. He was already 5'7" and was betting on being at least 6 feet by the time he was a senior in high school. His father was a little over 6 feet, and he had already grown taller than his 5'6" mother. Hours later, Gavin lied on his back, texting his buddy. The text went like this. From Gavin, GL Pimp. Yo, I'm chillin' and nobody messing with me. The return response from his best friend Kevon said, yeah, that's the life, nigga. You gotta see my setup. Stuff is real. You live further out though. Gotta ask my dad to chariot me on over there. Cool. Gavin was playing a video game on his computer when his mother entered the room. Dag, Ma, can't you knock? She gave him a warning look. I own the place. I decide to knock if I want. That's my choice. But I could have been undressed. Well, if you weren't so wrapped up in that game, you would have heard me calling you. And you would have heard me banging on the door at the bottom of the stairs. He rested the handheld controller and gave his mother his full attention. The last thing he needed was for her to change her mind about the rooming arrangements in the house and give his sister Tara the attic instead. He knew how to play his cards. Tara had wanted that room, but because he was a boy, his father lobbied on his behalf and convinced his mother to give him the room. However, his mother was still the house boss. I came up here to let you know the pizza is here. He hurried down the stairs behind his mother and met the rest of the family in the kitchen. He held his phone and got on TikTok, telling his followers about the new house and holding up pizza. Son, his father said, telling him to cut the live recording. Okay, Dad. He followed his father's order. Now, can we all sit down at the table like a family? Everyone put away their phones. No, Dad, please. Hey.
I'm waiting on a call, Daddy.
Put away the phones. He put his hand up, quieting down the children, and turned them off. Yvette, their mother said, you know, when we were kids, we didn't have all these phones and video games and TikTok and Facebook and flip-flop and all of this old stuff. Man, what a boring life. Stephen and Yvette had been born in 1969 and grew up during the 70s. They'd been centered around their careers and did not have children until their late 30s. Stephen was an engineer and Yvette was director of federal and state accountability for the State Department of Social Services. School is almost out, Stephen said as he started the conversation with his wife and children. When he got no verbal response from his children, he added, yeah, and I bet that y'all are glad you didn't land in a different school district. Yeah, I would have killed myself in that case. Gavin, stop it. Mom, you don't know how hard it is these days. It was hard back in our days too, Gavin.
But be thankful that you have a lot more than a lot of kids out there.
He had several pairs of designer sneakers, a personal laptop, a tablet, the latest version of iPhone, and now his own room.
Dad, what is it, son?
Stephen said, taking a bite of his second slice of pizza.
Think I can get a lock for my room?
For what? Yvette piped in.
To keep them out.
He was referring to his younger sisters. Don't nobody want to go in your creepy room. Soon all kinds of fungus is going to be in there growing up there. Lanisa, his younger sister, spoke up. Gavin tossed pizza crust at her.
Hey, boy, you don't treat your sisters that way. Apologize to her. I'm sorry, Nisa.
But she rolled her eyes at him. Groovy Gavin, Chapter 2. Gavin stayed up until midnight. That was another reason he loved living in the attic. He was sequestered from the rest of the house. All he had to do was be quiet, and nobody below would hear him. Still, he turned down the volume on his video game as he played against some guy way over there in Japan. The numbers on the guy's score increased, and he was leading Gavin by 21 points. But Gavin wasn't one to lose. He'd won 17 straight games against all types of random people. The game chimed, indicating it was over. Do you want to play another round? Gavin asked his opponent. No, I'm good, the opponent responded, and then logged off. Gavin stared at the screen. Large red letters blinked the words, "Start over with Simon," another opponent who was available. But Gavin's eyes were heavy. He logged off the computer and fell into bed. Groovy Gavin, Chapter 3. Shards of sunlight peered into the room, waking Gavin up. His mother hadn't hung the curtains yet. He put his hand over his face, trying not to be blinded by the sunlight. That was the thing about being in the South. Even during the winter, the sun was bright. And now that it was late spring, the sun was relentless. He started drifting off again until he heard his mother's voice, followed by relentless knocks at the door at the bottom of the stairs. Gavin! Gavin! Then the door opened. Gavin, if you don't want me coming up there, you better get up now. He opened his eyes and said, "Okay, Mom, I'm up." "All right, get up or else." Something in her voice sounded different. Her tone sounded softer. He looked up at the ceiling and realized it was a different color than it had been the night before. It was yellowish gold, but yesterday it was sky blue. He looked around the room and everything was different. The room was painted yellow instead of blue. A small box-like TV sat on the desk where his laptop had been. A small portable record player was on the table where he'd placed his tablet. He sprung up from the bed and looked around. He rubbed his eyes, but nothing changed. He ran to the closet. Instead of his designer shirts, there were replaced with styles he'd never seen before. "Mom! Mom! Mom!" he called out. Where were his things? He felt himself hyperventilating. Yvette appeared at the top of the stairs at the entrance. "What's, boy? Why are you still in your pajamas? You're going to miss the school bus." "Dad's taking me to school." "What? When did your father ever take you to school, boy?" She looked confused, and Gavin was confused too. His mother sported a huge afro, wore a full apron, and a checkered dress under the apron. She looked like something straight out of another time. He takes me to school every day. What is wrong? Boy, get downstairs, brush your teeth, and get ready before you miss the bus, or it will be your butt. With that, she left the room and headed back to the second level. She had never threatened to whip him before. He couldn't believe what was going on. He reached the second level. His sisters both had large afro puffs and were dressed like some of the girls in old movies he'd seen, like Good Times and What's Happening. The colors and fabric were different. His sisters wore an orange polyester pullover, turtleneck, and a green skirt. Mom, can somebody tell me what's going on? He stood at the entrance of the master bedroom where his mother had just finished making the bed. His father stood at the full-length mirror tying his necktie. He'd never seen his father wear a suit and tie to work before. Like what? Tell you something like what, boy? Well, I want to know if I'm on punishment or something, because my iPhone, where is it? My tablet and my computer is gone.
What's an iPhone?
His father, Stephen, asked as he finished tying his necktie. My iPhone, Dad, like the iPhone you bought me.
Son, if you need a phone, there's one right there.
His father pointed to the nightstand.
But it's not just for you, it's for the whole house.
Dad, I don't mean I, like me. I'm talking about the type of phone it is. It's an iPhone like Apple. Stephen smiled, approached his son, touched his shoulder, and said,
Son, you must have had a bad dream last night.
That always happens when he's up until after midnight. You didn't think we didn't know, did you, Gavin? Exasperated, Gavin headed back upstairs, pulled out a pair of bell-bottom jeans from the drawer. He looked for his newest Nikes and only found 2 pairs of Converse sneakers in the closet. He couldn't go to school like that. When he entered the kitchen, everything was different. The appliances were light green and the place was painted some ugly yellow, the same as his room. His mother placed his breakfast in front of him. When he looked at Tara, her eyeglasses were different. All he knew was that everything in the house looked old. He knew he had to be dreaming. Hurry, Gavin, your bus is coming, and don't forget your lunch, his mother said as she handed him a square, plaid-looking lunchbox and handed him his books. He looked at the lunchbox. It was metal. She'd never done that before. He just knew that his bell-bottoms and turtleneck pullover would draw laughter from all the kids on the bus, not to mention the fact that he was taking his lunch to school when most of the time he bought lunch in the cafeteria like all the other cool kids. When the bus pulled up, the side of it read South Carolina Public Schools. At least he knew he was in the right state. He braced himself for the laughter and started making up a story as to why he was dressed that way. He would tell the kids that he did it for laughs and see how many kids thought it was cool and that he was trying to start a back-in-the-day trend. Yeah, that's what I tell him. I say that. The first thing he noticed when the doors of the bus opened was that the driver was in a blue uniform. It was a man who looked to be in his early 40s. It was already bad enough that Hardscrabble Road looked like some country road from a long time ago, and so did the bus. But to his surprise, everyone was dressed like they were back in the day. He saw a few afros, afro puffs, turtlenecks, bell-bottom jeans, and a couple of boys were wearing stack-heeled shoes and button-down polyester shirts with wide collars, colorful shirts at that. He heard the sound of a Jackson 5 song coming from the small radio of another student sitting near the rear. He spotted his best friend, Gavin, sitting in the back, playing cards with some other kids. The other boy looked up and said, "Hey, Gav, you can get in the next game, okay?" Gavin stood there, just looking at everything. "Hey, sugar, why don't you sit down?" came the soft voice of a girl. Gavin looked down at a face he had never seen before. All the other kids on the bus were familiar to him except her. In fact, it appeared as if his entire life had been transferred to back in the day. There was an empty seat next to her, and he reluctantly eased down in the seat. I haven't seen you before." "I know. Yesterday was my first day. I'm originally from Atlanta. I'm Annette Royster." She proffered her hand to him, and he shook her hand and said,
I'm Gavin Lomax.
"Well, it's nice to meet you, Gavin."
What did you come to Columbia for? I bet there's more stuff to do in Atlanta than out here.
His family had visited Atlanta many times. He wished he lived there. "Well, my daddy moved us out here for a development project, as he calls it."
Development project? What's that?
"Well, my daddy said his company is building some new homes out here." The bus rumbled down the country road before reaching another rural road until it pulled in front of the high school. The students emptied the bus. Gavin was surprised. He knew where his homeroom class was. He took his seat. By then, Gavin had joined him, and they walked side by side. "So, Gavin, we hitting the basketball court tonight, man?"
Yeah, I guess that can work.
It was when he reached his class that he realized where in time he was. The teacher had written the date on the board, April 23rd, 1973. He suddenly felt dizzy. If he did the math correctly, his parents would only be 4 years old during that year. His mother had told him both she and his father were born in 1969. There was definitely something wrong. Groovy Gavin, Chapter 4. By the time Gavin arrived home, he had resigned himself to the fact that things had changed. His sisters were sitting at the dining room table doing their homework, and a show called General Hospital was playing on the huge floor model color TV in the living room. He soon realized that other than the TV in his parents' bedroom, that there was only one that was in color in the entire house. "Get your homework done, Gavin," he heard his mother say. She was sitting on the sofa watching the soap opera. Since when did she not work? He wondered.
Yes, ma'am,
He said. What else was there to do other than homework? He had no computer, no tablet, no iPhone, no social media. If it were not for the entire world having hit the rewind button and ending up in 1973, he would think his parents were playing a sick game on him and dragging his sisters into the action too. But they seemed rather content with this setup. "And when you're done, you need to walk your sisters down to the library to check out some books, okay?" His mother added. He rather liked her better when she worked. At least she wasn't home to boss him around. He headed to the dining room table and joined his sisters. He had an assignment to explain what the Louisiana Purchase was about. He was about to go upstairs and grab his phone until he realized he did not have a cell phone. Just then, the telephone in the kitchen wall rang, and his mother stood to get it. There was a long spirally cord attached to the phone. "Hey, Henry." She paused before adding, "Yes, Gavin is here." "Okay, I'll let him know." He thought his Uncle Henry had died. He looked at his mother. In fact, Henry was her uncle,
His great uncle. Your uncle is coming by. He's got something for you. Yes, ma'am. He headed upstairs to his room. He looked around for the remote to the TV, but didn't find one. He examined the small 13-inch box until he found the power button. At first, there was noise. Then he turned the knob several times before a picture appeared. This really sucks. This really sucks. The television's picture started spinning as lines kept scrolling up. He couldn't figure out what to do until his sister appeared into the room and said, "Straighten the antenna, dummy." Out of my room, Tara. She sucked her teeth, walked over, and started adjusting the antenna. The lines quit scrolling, and he got a clear picture. He looked at her. How did she know to do that? The picture was now clear. The show, The Brady Bunch, was on. He'd heard about it, but never thought he'd be living during the time when it was aired. Before Tara left the room, she said, "We're ready to go to the library. That's why I came up here to begin with." After his sisters chose their books, they headed to the counter, handed the woman behind the counter their library cards. "Aren't you going to check out some books, Gavin?" Lanisa, his youngest sister, said. Gavin did not know what books to check out. Most of the time, when he wanted to look up something, he did it on the computer or his phone. He decided to go over to the aisle where technology was. He looked for books on computers. He found a couple of them that caught his attention. One of them was about programming. He decided to go ahead and check that out. The siblings then headed home. Hey boy, hey! His Uncle Henry said the minute Gavin and the girls entered the house. "I got something for you. Come on out here." "Hey, Uncle, Mom told me." The uncle led him to his car. He opened the door and presented Gavin with a box. It was an 8-track tape player. Gavin had no idea what to do with it. "What? Thanks, Uncle, but what is this?" "Oh, stop it, boy, stop it." He reached into a bag with the words BB's Record Store inscribed on it and pulled out 3 large tapes. He inserted one of them into the player, and immediately a group from the 70s started playing. Let me think about loving you. "So I already put some batteries in it," Henry said proudly. Gavin couldn't be anything other than grateful. In fact, that player was the most exciting thing in his life right now. The song was catchy. The other tapes were by Eddie Kendricks, Keep On Truckin', Patti LaBelle, and Earth, Wind and Fire. He soon fell in love with the song That's the Way of the World by Earth, Wind and Fire. "I figured I'd get the ones by your favorite groups. I wanted to get the Jackson 5, but they were sold out," Henry said. He handed him the power cord. "And when you in the house, use this here cord so your batteries won't wear out, okay, nephew?" "Okay, thank you, Uncle." Gavin hugged the older man. That night, he played a song by Betty Wright over and over again. Each time the tape ended, he let it rewind and play again. He'd even fallen asleep to her music. It might be a man's world, but a woman is running in. It might be a man's world, but a woman is running in. Everything he does needs a feminine touch. Groovy Gavin, Chapter 5. Gavin found his $3 allowance on the dresser once he arrived home from school. He had been in this dream for at least a month now, and school was due to be over in a week. He was amazed at how far $3 went. He was able to buy a few things with $3. The first time his father had given him his allowance, he had a question for his dad.
Dad, what am I supposed to do with this?
His father simply laughed, patted him on the shoulder, and walked away saying,
Son, you really have a sense of humor these days with all the iPhones and all that stuff.
He'd used one of those dollars to purchase a Jackson 5 tape and a replacement for the Betty Wright tape that had broken from wearing it out listening to it every night. As soon as he was done folding up his laundry that his mother had left in the basket, he hurried downstairs to the living room. The $6 million man was about to come on. When he reached the living room, his sisters was watching the Partridge Family.
Hey, I wanted to watch the $6 million man,
he had told Tara. She looked up at him and said, "Oops, sorry, but we got here first."
Oh, come on. Come on. Y'all watched the Brady Bunch yesterday. It's my turn.
The girls wouldn't budge, so he turned the channel.
Daddy! Daddy, Gavin, turn the TV!
Lanisa cried. Stephen entered the living room, his hands on his hips.
What? What's going on in here?
He turned the TV, Daddy.
Gavin, turn it back to what they were watching. But Dad, they watched their favorite show yesterday. Well, watch what you want to watch in your room. They don't have a TV in their room. But it's not in color, though. Gavin, the girls don't have any TV in their room. So if you have a TV in your room, whether it's in color or not, you're in better shape than they are. So watch what you want to watch in your own room and turn that TV back to what they were watching.
He didn't want to watch a black and white TV. That was the one thing about living in that time period he hated. But the music, dancing, the lingo, he began really liking. And he always looked forward to watching Soul Train on Saturday afternoon. That was the one thing he and his sisters could agree on. And he never would have met Annette Royster had it not for having traveled back in time. He looked forward to seeing her every day at school, and she lived only down the road from them about a half a mile. Annette was pretty, shapely, nice, and she was a fox. He decided to take a walk down to Annette's house. Her house was a huge 2-story structure off the road. The color was light blue, had a wraparound porch, and many windows. There were at least 5 bedrooms in that place. He walked up the porch steps and knocked on the door. She opened. Although it was after 8, it was still daylight. "Hey, sugar, how are you doing? Your parents let you come out?"
I just told them I was taking a short walk. How you doing?
She joined him on the porch and sat on one of the rails. Her hair was in a huge afro with a headband pushing it off her forehead. She sported huge gold hoop earrings and wore a halter top and a pair of shorts. Gavin was mesmerized by her.
I wish I had brought my 8-track player with me. Right now, we could listen to a little Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Oh, you have an 8-track tape player?
Yeah, I got one.
Oh, wow. I told my dad I want one for my birthday. I do have a record player, though.
My Uncle Henry bought mine.
He happened to look through the window. He had a clear view of the huge floor model color TV. His favorite show was on. The $6 Million Man.
Oh, man. $6 Million Man is on.
Oh, you like Steve Austin, too?
Yeah, you was watching that?
Oh, yes. I love the $6 Million Man.
So why you out here? Why you stop watching?
Because it's better to talk to you instead of watching TV, Gavin.
Hey, can I join you to watch the show?
Sure. Let me ask my mother first. She disappeared inside. When she returned, she told him, she says it's okay, but after the show, you would have to go home. They sat in the living room and watched the show. Her mother sat next to her on the sofa while Gavin sat in the armchair. He knew where he would be able to watch his favorite show from now on. Once the show was over, she walked him outside. He faced her and said,
"Thanks for inviting me in. I appreciate you and that."
"Oh, you are welcome, Gavin."
Can I, can I?
The question was caught in his throat. She smiled and said, "Well, can you what?"
Can I kiss you?"
She offered her lips. They felt soft and warm. He almost felt dizzy. He had turned 15 8 days ago, and that was his first kiss. She would be turning 15 the next week. He would never forget who he shared his first kiss with, a beautiful girl named Annette Royster. He walked home almost in a daze. When he reached the house, his mother and father were sitting in the living room. His sisters were upstairs in their rooms.
"I will be looking into getting you a color TV tomorrow, son,"
Stephen said, but Gavin did not hear him. "Gavin, where did you go? I noticed your bike was still out on the back porch," his mother asked. He still did not hear her either.
"Gavin!"
The bass in his father's voice jolted him.
"Yes, sir." "What's gotten into you? Why aren't you answering us?"
"Oh, sorry, Dad."
"Are you in love or something, boy?"
No, I'm okay."
"Do I need to have another talk with you?"
"I'm okay, Dad."
"Just let me know. But anyway, I'll be getting a color TV tomorrow so you won't have to fight with your sisters."
"Thank you, Dad." He headed upstairs and listened to one of his favorite groups again. That song reminded him of Annette. He was finally starting to like the music. He didn't know the 1970s could be so much fun.
And didn't anticipate the mistake. They're walking out on you.